Hello, everyone. As you know, my name is Enzi Sewa, and today we have a very nice gentleman, David Youngren, who originally Swedish, lived in Canada, and now is in America. He's in San Diego, California. Very interesting because he was a pastor and a minister, and he went through, I think, the world and different places doing crusades. But then he had an epiphany, and so something must have changed in his life or made him dissatisfied or whatever. And today he's now a spiritualist philosopher, but I'm going to let him tell you his story. So, David Youngren, how are you? And
I
welcome
am
to my
doing
podcast.
I am doing great, and thank you so much, Zenzi, for the opportunity of being with you. I love your background, by the way, and just really looking forward to our conversation today.
Great. Now, I always like to say to people, you're in California, I'm in London. The time is 9 minutes past 4. What is it in California?
Well, we just had a time change, so it's 10 minutes after 9.
Oh, so you've gone night before for 10 minutes after 9, so that's 4. So 7 hours. Yes, what's going to happen? We're going to have a time change um in a few weeks' time. Yes, at the end of this month, we will go into summertime. So then we'll probably level up again.
Yes, that's true. Normally it's 8 hours, but I think now it's 7 hours because of we have an earlier time,
Yeah,
daylight savings time switch.
yeah. And it will go back to 9 because we'll go forward as well in, I
Yeah.
think, about 2 weeks. So, David, tell us your story. How did you become a pastor? What made you become a pastor minister? And then from there, and then how you changed.
Well, thank you again. I really appreciate this opportunity. So I was raised in a Christian home
Mm.
in Sweden, and my parents were very dedicated Christians. And so then I went to a Bible college in Canada, trained to be in the ministry, and literally I had a lot of success. I traveled around the world. I had a great church. Was a Bible college president. Spoke to sometimes as many people as 100,000 people in one crowd. So I had in quote unquote, whatever that means, but I had some success in that field, in that arena. And then I started going through a number of different experiences that I began to question. And Jesus said, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." And I realized I was not free. I was dealing with a plethora of negative emotions. I was dealing with anger and guilt and shame and fear, all these different things. And I thought there's got to be something more to this. There's got to either the whole idea of Jesus and what he said is just a big lie, or there is something about the truth that I'm missing. And that's very hard to admit for all of us because, when you're raised a certain way, you believe
Yeah.
we have the stewards to the truth and all of that.
Yes.
And we are right. Very ethnocentric view of the world.
Yes.
We are the best. We're the greatest. We have the only true religion. We have the only true worldview.
Yes.
And so that was very prominent in my mind. And I just thought this was the way. And I remember one time I was going for, I decided I needed to have some new direction in my life. I wanted to experience I needed something new and fresh in my life. And I decided to go to the golf course so that I just could be by myself in a time of reflection and just,
And in nature, just greenery.
and in nature. So I went to this golf course and there was nobody there. I chose a time where no one would be playing. And then I went to the first hole to tee off, and I noticed a gentleman who was at the putting or the green, which was about 500 yards in front of me. So I thought to myself, well, I'm going to play really slow so I don't catch up to this guy. And if I catch up to the guy, he may want to play with me. And I didn't want to be around anybody. I just wanted to be by myself. And so I played really slow the first hole. I got to the second hole, and there he's sitting waiting for me. And I thought, oh my gosh, why is he waiting for me here? And
You're
so he
free to
asked, "You want
join
to
him.
play?" Exactly. And why? He said, "Well, do you want to play together?" And I said, "Sure." I didn't want to be rude, right? But
Not
everything within,
really.
that's what I felt like saying. But I didn't want to be rude, so I said, "Sure, sure." But I thought to myself, well, this is my religious ignorance coming through majorly. I thought to myself, well, if I'm not going to be able to play by myself, he's going to disturb my peace. I'm going to try to do everything in my power to convert him to my belief. And so we started playing, and I tried everything in my power. And I noticed something about this man that was very unique. He didn't see the world like I did. It wasn't that he was against my worldview, but he exuded this incredible peace, a deep sense of love, compassion, empathy. And I thought, I met a lot of people in my religion, and I've never met a man like this man who actually exudes, as I said, this warmth, this love, this sense of union, this sense of oneness. And I was totally taken in by it. But I just continued to preach my message to him, and he just listened patiently and all of that. And at the end of the golf, we were kind of coming up to the 18th hole. He walked away, and I was there, and then I thought to myself, well, what was this? This was a terrible time. And I never thought about until much later, started thinking about what actually had happened. Why did this man have such peace? You see, about a year and a half later, I found myself we had just moved to California, and I was so upset. I was so mad and angry, and I was dealing with disappointments, my own failures, but I was also dealing with what people had done me wrong. And I was dealing with these emotions. And I started having cluster headaches to the point where I felt like someone was sticking a knife in my eye, twisting it around.
Okay.
And for those who are not familiar with, cut me off anytime here, but for those who are not familiar with cluster headaches, according to Google, I say this jokingly, according to Dr. Google, is the worst pain a human can suffer. And sometimes I tell this story to an audience, and the women laugh at me because they say, you never experienced childbirth. You don't know what pain is.
Yes. You haven't experienced it.
But I always give the comeback. Dr. Google says it. I believe Dr. Google. So it was the worst pain that's what they claim. And it felt like it would last. In the beginning, it only happened every second day. And then it started happening every day, and then multiple times a day. And I would lay in bed and scream and say, I don't want to live anymore. And then I had this kind of surreal experience where I just thought, meditate on divine love. Now you have to understand, I'm coming from this very religious background where meditation was it's like a great thing. You don't want this great evil. So to me, it was like, oh, you don't go there. Mm-hmm. But I had this inner prompting to meditate on divine love. And I didn't know anything about meditation. I didn't know how to do it. So I just sat down in my car and I just began to meditate on divine love. And suddenly I felt this overwhelming sense of unconditional, selfless love, a deep peace well up within me. It's like, oh, where did that come from? And immediately the pain disappeared, which was kind of interesting. So later on I studied the science of it, the neuroscience and all of that. So it kind of makes sense why and how it happened. And then, as I said, my journey continued. I continued to meditate, and I continued to go deeper. And then not right away, but eventually. And I noticed that my well-being changed, and I became much more, how do I put it, less tribal, less religious, but more deeply spiritual. And what I mean that it was an inner connection. Going back to the guy at the golf course, I started seeing, oh, maybe my story is not the most important thing. Maybe my dogma is not what matters the most. Maybe what really matters is a much deeper reality of inner peace and a love, a compassion, an empathy that flows from within me. And you can belong whatever religion you're part of, or no religion, or whatever. Sometimes you have people who are very religious and they are fearful and they're hateful
Yes.
and everything
Yes.
else. So
Yes.
if you think there is a God or anything like that, if you think that is God, it kind of makes no sense. So that became then led to my spiritual philosopher. I became more interested in spiritual philosophy. I've written a number of different books, including my latest book, A Life Ascending, Unlocking Mental Well-Being Through Timeless Wisdom and New Science, which really combines everything. I look at the whole picture of spirituality, ancient wisdom, and then I also found, which was the amazing thing, I found Jesus' teachings through Aramaic was so different than I had been raised, completely different, and that was a great eye opener for me.
That is brilliant. But the fact that you went on the golf course and you found this man, obviously he came for you. He came to help you. He came to change a yearning in you that was there, but you didn't realize, and to guide you and show you the way.
Exactly.
So, finding this and good, how did you then transition from the pastor? What did you do? Because you had to leave your original calling, and what did you change into, so to speak, for want of a not into, but which path, and how did you do it?
I mean, it was a process for me. So as the more I began to, because I started having this experience of just a deeper sense of peace. And then the more I had this experience, I saw all kinds of troubling things within my religious background that I couldn't answer. So it wasn't that I was against it. It wasn't, but I just realized I can't be honest with myself and keep talking about the same things that I've always spoken about, because this is a new reality. So it just changed me. So eventually I stepped down and resigned as a pastor. I just thought I want to be honest with myself. And I started studying more, reading more about why am I experiencing this incredible thing? What was the root of it? And I read a lot of various spiritual wisdom texts, but I also started studying science, neuroscience, and quantum
Okay.
physics.
Yeah.
And that was incredibly fascinating. And I realized it's sometimes when you experience something, you think you're all alone, right? Like, why is this happening to me? And then you realize, no, this has been going on for
A long
thousands of
time.
years, and
Yes.
there is a lot of people who have experienced the same kind of thing. So that was actually incredible for me. It was just so reassuring to know that I haven't lost it somehow or another.
You haven't gone loopy, and you've not gone off the scale. And
Right.
so, looking at all these, I think what I would like you to talk a little bit, and I think because what is happening now and the realities coming out is about the quantum physics and the science part, because science is now catching up with spirituality. And I really believe, because man of spirit has always said certain things, and man of science said, no, 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 no. But now science is realizing that we are energy and everything is energy.
Yeah.
And because of that, we've been around for a very long time. And we are very powerful, and we can change, and things happen to us why we change. And so, can you just say a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. One of the, to me, one of the biggest revelations, or whatever you want to call it, was that at my true essence, I am consciousness.
Yes.
And I am the witness that observes my thoughts, my emotions, and that is always constant. And what quantum physics told me was that, of course, you pointed out energy, but also the observer effect, and that particles, it's not particles, but that
Atoms,
information, energy
energy.
exists in a state of, and information intelligence exists in a state of nowhere and everywhere at the same time.
Yes.
So it is, but until it becomes observed. When it becomes observed, it becomes localized, and it becomes tangible into particles and matter, eventually into matter. And so that was very interesting, because I thought, well, at the very core of who we are, as you brought up, what is spirit? Spirit to me is ultimately consciousness. You can even take biblical texts like God breathed his spirit into man and became a living being. What is ultimately here is a consciousness. It is breath. It is the very fact that I am aware that I am.
Yes.
And because I'm aware that I am, so that was a major difference, understanding the difference between consciousness and my mind and my thoughts about who I am, then my brain and all of that, and how that functions, and the neocortex. I have a little model of the brain here, but to understand, I don't know if you can see this, but you have, of course, this the neocortex, which is the upper part of the brain, and then you have the chemical brain, or the emotional brain here in the middle part, and then you have the brainstem and the cerebellum here, which is your subconscious area, which is the habit forming pattern of your brain. And so many times we identify with that. We think that that is the totality of who we are. We identify with our brain waves, so to speak.
Yeah, that has been gathered.
Yeah, which is all information, everything that you've done, all those things that have shaped you into kind of a form and a perception of yourself. But at the deeper level, and when you start meditating, this was an amazing thing, Zenzi, that when I started meditating, I just became aware of awareness itself. And that was consciousness, that was spirit. And that is the place of incredible peace and love, when you just feel this incredible peace. And out of that arises a sense of love. And that's always present in the now. It's nothing to do with this information you stored in your brain and the habit forming. It is just being present and being aware and being conscious and being able to look at you or look at the surroundings and just being aware without judgments, without anything. And that is the most beautiful place to be. I don't know if I answered your question now. I bet we probably went off on a tangent, but
you did. No, you answered it beautifully, because when you say we are consciousness of everything, literally, we are not our minds. We are not our bodies. We are consciousness of the multiverse, universe, triniverse. We are everywhere and yet nowhere. And that brain, as you show, that holds our subconscious mind, is just a little computer box that has held all the information of all our existences, and not just in this lifetime, but previous lifetimes. But what has happened is that because we've lived previously in probably different physical lifetimes, our actions are stored in what we've done, thinking at that level. But when we actually sit down and be and really connect to our higher self, our superconscious mind, which is consciousness itself and creation or whatever, we're so much more. And I think it's probably, and what I say is that when you connect to that, you then realize your capabilities is so much more than that is stored in that subconscious mind, because you've been thinking in a physical sense all the time. You've not been locked into your higher consciousness, which is limitless.
Yeah, and I think the beautiful part is that, the brain is like the ego. It's self-serving. It's to separate myself from somebody else. So So if you process this information just from the point of ego, it can become
Yes.
very self-serving. It becomes about
Yes.
me. It becomes about
Yes.
my revelation. But when you truly have an experience, you are free from this sense of self that it's me. I need prominence. I need to be recognized. I'm either superior or
Yes.
inferior to somebody.
Yes.
No, you're just free from all of that, and you recognize I'm in you, you are in me, and there is a
We
sense
are
of
the whole.
oneness. Yeah. And so there's a sense of oneness, and Jesus talked about this. I'm in the Father is in me. I'm in you, you are in me. I'm in the naked, I'm in the prisoner, I'm in the,
Yes.
in the
Everything.
foreigners, in everything. So he recognized this, and when we begin to experience that, it changes how we treat one another, which is ultimately the goal of everything, like how we interact with one another.
Thank you. And you put it in a nutshell. When you start to realize this, why then are you prejudiced to somebody over there because they look different or their culture is different? Well, they're going through another journey in another consciousness, and that's why they're doing that. But ultimately, we're all experiencing different things. But ultimately, what we have to come to realize is that we are not our mind, we are not our body, we are not that information that we've gathered at this limit, at this lower self. We are actually this limitless all encasing, and we're all part of it. It's like
Yeah,
looking at the molecules, under a microscope, you
yeah,
can see,
yeah.
and that's us. But come away, it's all one.
One of the things that I sometimes tell my dear Christian friends is that it's interesting when Paul went to speak in Athens to Greek people. He says the Epicureans which were philosophers, and the Epicureans say that in God we live and move and have our being. In God, and I always point to this as the word in means inside God we live and move and have our being. So what does that mean? Sometimes we think of God as up there, far away, and we are here. Separation mindset. And that we're trying to get to God because he's somewhere far away, and we are here, and we are terrible. God is wonderful. When I go to heaven, things is going to be great, and here is terrible. And that is not. It's interesting because to
God
me,
is all around.
it's just like, we have our being, the very essence, the very core essence of consciousness. The same consciousness is in you. The same consciousness is in me, that is free of attachment, that is free of this added things that I am David, I am Zenzi, I'm
Yes,
live in San Diego. When we be free from all of that, and we just simply aware that we are,
we are.
essentially, we're all one together. And when you realize that, then that's when you tap into the greater I am, the I am that I am, that we're all in this one being. And then how does that transform how we view one another? How does that transform how we interact with one another? And how does, because I don't know, but in London, London, England, but I've been there a number of times, so I guess I know some things about it. But uh, when I look around and I see all the craziness in the world, it's easy to be disheartened and to make all kinds of judgments about them. Like, what kind of people actually do we have running the world? What is really going on? And so far away from the way we think. But at the same time, now I have to, as a spiritual teacher, philosopher, then I process this. No, I'm one with them too.
Yes,
And that is a hard thing to accept
yes.
for the ego. The ego doesn't like to be one with them. I
With
am
that
nothing like.
madness, with that madness going on.
Exactly. So, when you begin to understand that, there ultimately leads to more compassion and more love, and
Yes,
recognizing, sure, It's like Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing because they're so blind. They're so blind in their mind.
Yeah.
And so caught up in their mind. But if we, you and I, and more of us just come to this realization, oh, there's something greater going on. There's the inner witness that we all are. We all one, and that leads to tremendous love and peace in our life.
You are so, so, so right. And this is the challenge that we have in our lifetime to come and grow spiritually. And that's really why we live many lives, and we come to, and but each life is really to keep on growing spiritually, to understand that we are not just these individuals, we are part of the collective, and we are part of that whole. And that whole is nothing more than unconditional love, peace, harmony, unifying everything. And we are just one. And we don't need to be rushing for this or rushing for that and wanting this big thing and wanting that. It's there. We have everything in abundance. It's there. That the main thing is we are this one of the whole of the Creator, and we can have everything. And to live in that harmony is to live where we have that love, we have that joy. We don't fret, we don't worry. We're not looking at this or looking at that. And if we feel something is not right, then see how we can put it to right. And in this world where there is so much ups and downs and discrimination, when you lock into that, you realize this is wrong. And this is what you, me, and so many of us are coming here to work in different ways to show people that we're not separate. We're all together. And it doesn't matter what we look like. That's just part of the game, you know, but we are eternal, never ending. We don't die, we just change form, but we can never cease. And when we change without this physical, we're back to that eternal.
The timeless. I always talk about that. One of the things that I'm learned from Albert Einstein, he said that time only exists where there is matter and space.
Mm-hmm.
And so we always think in a linear time, but eternal literally means timelessness, always present in the now. It is forever the flow of now. And that is an incredible, when we understand that, it's just so incredible. Now I think it's important for me, not everything is perfect suddenly and all of that. And, suddenly I have arrived and I got something that nobody has. No, I never think of that. But I do understand that through meditation. I don't know if you found the same thing, Zenzi, that when you meditate and you come to that place of inner stillness, you begin to kind of rewire your subconscious. You begin to rewire your brain and your thoughts and emotions. And you lose the judgments.
Yes.
The judgments that you have placed. We all have judgments. We make judgments all the time, either for or against something. And the judgments ultimately lead to inner suffering. It leads to a sense of comparison again. I'm not like you. You're not like me. We are different. So you have to kind of almost heal those memories, all those judgments. You have to allow them to come to the surface. Because at some point, even the judgments were made about ourselves, that we feel inferior or we feel like we did something wrong. We suppress that in our subconscious.
Yes.
And we're thinking we have pushed it away. It's no longer there. No, it's there. It's guiding everything that we do. We're just not aware of it.
Yeah.
So to allow that to come into the light of consciousness, where now consciousness shines its light and begins to heal those emotions and remove the judgment
Yes.
and just let it be. That is the beginning of a transformation and mental well-being, which is, what I wrote about in my book, Life Ascending. It completely changes you.
And it is so, so beautiful. Now, David, now that you've gone from pastor to a spiritual philosopher, and I know you teach all the way around the world and you have different courses and classes. When you are now talking to people, what is their reaction? What reaction do you get? What do you see? How people are changing, people are accepting? Is it a surprise? What reactions?
Well, I want to point out that, first of all, I speak to a variety of different audiences, and I
Mhm.
always believe that you speak the language of the people that you're speaking to as much as possible.
Mhm.
And that it's not always easy, but you try to speak the language of the people and move them, even if it's incrementally. So depending on uh, how they ingrain they are in the mindset, if you just give them everything all at once, it's gonna probably not.
Overpower them. They
Yeah.
won't understand.
So my goal is always to kind of lead people in a different direction. And what I found to happen is there's like an eye opener. It almost feels like people, once you begin to speak, it's like they intuitively know what I'm saying is true because they felt it all along, but they never really put it into words.
That's it. And
And
you've come along with your new way of thinking. I say you're new because you changed from one to the other, and you've been able to look at it and try and break it down and put it into pieces that people can understand.
exactly. And I went through this journey, but also because I'm coming from this Christian background, how can I put this in words that my wonderful Christian friends can understand?
Yes.
and and that makes sense to them. And then as I speak to people of philosophers or speak to people from whatever label, you Hindus or Buddhists or New
Yeah.
Age or
Mhm.
people who have no religious affiliation whatsoever, you kind of learn you speak differently, but the root core essence of it all is
It's
about
the same.
inner awakening to a deeper sense of peace and love that
Yeah.
transforms how we see and interact with the world and heals our mental unrest.
So beautifully put. And I like when you said it doesn't matter what religion, Buddhists, Christians, whatever, the core is the same. It doesn't matter what religion you are, all are supposed to bring you to an understanding of who God is, what it is, who you are, how you fit in, and how you can find that peace and grow. And it's
Yeah.
all supposed to bring you to this that the Creator is everything, omnipresence, everything and everywhere. And we are, we carry the DNA, we are in Him, He is in us. And it's to understand that He is that He is, and we are that we are as well.
Yeah, so it's more. I think the great word, and I think you're so absolutely correct that it's just awakening to it, being
Yes,
aware of it. It's so
yes,
simple, really.
yes,
And I'm going to be this transcending reality, God, the infinite, the source, the ground of being,
mm.
whatever name you want to give it.
Give it.
We are surrounded. It is within. It's transcends us. It's through us. It's within us. And so then, if we actually come to that conclusion, then it's just a matter of being aware of it.
Yeah.
And how are you aware of it? As long as this mind is filled with all this stuff that we have done and all this knowledge, and if we make that our focal point, we're not going to be aware of it.
We're going
What
to keep small. We're going to be
exactly?
restricted.
So once we become aware of awareness itself, aware of consciousness and spirit, like the word, once you become aware of that, you begin to become aware of the union that exists. and your oneness with God, the source, the ground of being, whatever name, as I said before, whatever name we give it, we call it God because it's easy to
It's one
use
of the
that.
same.
Yeah. And so you become aware of that and you realize your union. And the more you spend time, and I'm going back to time again, which is in the linear, but the more we are in that continuous ever present, you can do that in meditation, but you can also do when you go for a walk or any time. You really can do it any time. And just become completely aware. The more it begins to change your feelings, your intuitions, your reactions, uh, it's just beautiful what happens.
It's so lovely talking to you. It's so refreshing because, this is another side of whatever we go through, and finding and connecting to that inner source of who we are to overcome and to live that lovely life we were meant to live, that we became disconnected, and in become disconnected, we somehow moved away, as I say to people, unwittingly, because we have free will. And now it's time for us to reconnect, to understand. And that feeling is in everybody, because everybody wants to have happiness and joy and harmony, and they want that because they experienced it from the beginning, from creation of who we were. We came from happiness and joy and harmony, and it's in us. And the fact that somehow we became disconnected and moved away, that essence is still in us, trying to draw us back. And this is why we do the things we do, but in the wrong way, to get back to happiness, joy. And we think money and the house and the car and the thing. No, 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 no. It is about that meditation and going into the bigger abyss, the bigger source of humongous that we are. And through that, we then come to ourselves and realize what we want, how we should, how it should be, and the unity of seeing that everybody, don't need to be fear. We don't need to have fear. We don't need to be angry. We don't need to be in competition. Not necessary. Just be.
I think it's so beautiful what you're saying. It's very true.
Yeah.
It completely changes. Yeah, it's just a total different reality. You begin to see things differently, and there's so many things you said in there that they're just beautiful. I was thinking back when you mentioned some of those things. I thought back about my experience with that other golfer and how he exemplified this kind of, but he didn't have the same story that I had about reality. It doesn't mean that some stories are not true and some stories may not be true. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. But he exemplified and he exuded a deeper reality. And that's really what we're talking about here.
And it's the deeper reality of life, of who we really are, and how we're supposed to be living it, experiencing it, and just be.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
And it's never ending. It's time without beginning or end. We are this limitless, endless, loving source of energy. It's in us, we're in it, and we don't need to fear, just be.
Yeah.
David, how can people reach you if they wanted to connect with you? Do you do courses? I know you've done several books. Do you want to just mention them, hold them up so people can see?
Sure.
Well, I will take down everything and put it in the notes afterwards, but do show them.
Well, so thank you, first of all, for the opportunity, Zenzi. Here's my book. It just came out this is my latest book. It came out 2 months ago, which I don't know exactly when this is, but it came out earlier this year in 2025. It's called Life Ascending, Unlocking Mental Well-Being Through Timeless Wisdom and New Science. And so some of the things that we talk about here is in the book, and it's much more in detail. We're going to, it's almost 300 pages long. And you can buy that book, of course, Amazon or many other retailers around the world. And it's been praised by so many different people. I noticed even a British man like yourself, Peter Russell. I don't know if you've heard of him.
No, but go ahead.
he wrote a book, Letting Go of Nothing, and there was Eckhart Tolle. I don't know if you heard of him.
Oh,
wrote a
yes,
foreword to it.
yes.
So it's been heard by many people, and so that's one way to just learning more about what we teach and all of that. And then through our website, davidyoungren.com, people can go there and learn more about what we're doing, and even download free guided meditations. And there are many ways to connect. And hopefully, as I said, I travel in many parts of the world, so hopefully I get to meet people in person. And I'm just going to be in Europe, actually, in the Netherlands in May. And so hopefully I get an opportunity to meet people in person. That's always the best way.
Okay, David, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I find each podcast I do, I learn so much. You never stop learning. As much as we know, there's always more things we forget, and things that seem more understandable, or we can understand something more with each conversation you have with people of enlightenment, because knowledge is so wide. It's coming from different ways, and we're all different, and we all need to know that in different ways, at different levels, and different sorts of things. And I find I'm so happy to be doing this. So thank you so much for coming on the program. I'm going to take more information of your website, and put it so we can do it in the notes so people can get it. So if you haven't written down, and get all of his book titles, and I'll put it in the notes, and how to contact him, don't worry. So once again, thank you everybody for joining us, but moreover, thank you, David, for coming along and sharing your knowledge, and so that we can grow as well, because it's about sharing and helping us to grow. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so everybody, thank you for being here, and bye for now.